From the advertising media capital of the world, New Milford, Connecticut, wherever that is. This is Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson, a bi-weekly-ish podcast about all things automotive marketing. Now, here's your host, Matt Wilson.
Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson, the bi-weekly-ish podcast all about marketing in the automotive industry, mostly. Sponsored by Stoke, which is what's in this cup, the best cold brew on the planet. Actually, they're not really a sponsor. I'd like to get them as a sponsor, though, because I love this stuff. Call me Stoke. Anyway, welcome to another episode. Good to be here at the beginning of the month here in October. Everybody in the auto industry getting ready for another month. September, pretty good for most. Hopefully October as well. I got a cool guest today joining me here on Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson. We'll bring him on the screen right now. His name is Sean Boyle. He's the owner at Momentum Digital. They're in Philadelphia. What's up, Sean? How you doing?
What's going on, Matt? How are you, man? Thanks for having me on the show, bro. I love the intro. That's fantastic.
You like that? That's Jim McCarthy. Let me get his little thing on the screen. That's Jim McCarthy from Jim McCarthy Voiceovers at JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com. I've known this guy for 20 years, used to work in radio together in the late 90s. He's the man. You should use him for your podcast.
I definitely will. Right after this episode, I'm going to contact him. That's so professional.
I have listened to your podcast, and I totally dig it. The Sean Boyle podcast, it's called. I encourage people to check out the Sean Boyle podcast, all places that podcasts can be found. Let's talk first. I think the thing, I can't remember how I found you or how we found each other. It's usually via LinkedIn is how I find most people. But let's talk first about video. So your agency deals a lot with realty, right? And you are heavily working in that vertical. And one of the things that you guys specialize in is video, and particularly those 360-degree tours of properties, which, you know, to my knowledge, from the dealer perspective, like when I was the marketing director at a dealer group, I can't remember. Some guy contacted me. I paid him a couple $100, and he came in and did a bunch of, camera shots in the morning at 8:30, and we used the file, uploaded it to Google, right? This is like probably 5-6 years ago. So was that the beginning of this type of video? How do you guys do it? And how has it changed how you sell and market real estate?
So Matterport, Matt, is the virtual tour technology we use based out of San Francisco. They're about a decade old now as a company. And it's one of these things, man, where you're probably familiar with the Google Street View, those virtual tours.
Yep.
And I ultimately was saying, hey, these tours really aren't that good. They in terms of the quality, they're just not there. I mean, you would think with Google, they would have a whole robust system.
Yeah.
It would be, on the up and up, but it's just not there. So we came up with Matterport. My business partner came to me, and he pretty much, set the concept and SOP into the company. And once we started to really think, oh my God, we can actually do something with this, COVID hit, right? And we just exploded. I mean, I hate to say it was a perfect time for us because I know a lot of people, like our freaking president has COVID now, right?
Yeah.
But dude, it was a perfect time for us because we started to really expand, especially in real estate. I mean, in the Philadelphia area, it's just tremendous. We were able to help 300 plus realtors sell their properties. And now it's a precedent where if you don't have a virtual tour, you're not, not saying you're not going to sell your property fast, but it's almost like it's like photos were when they were first introduced, or a video now, you know what I mean? So the virtual tour, you guys can go on Matterport.com, check out all of the exclusive packages they have right there. But I mean, it's fantastic. And the best part about it is, you can shoot it with your iPhone, man. It's pretty easy. I like to say that Helen Keller could learn how to shoot these tours because it's just that easy. There's no barriers to entry, so there's no excuses. I'm sure they have like their really fancy schmancy, $1,000 plus cameras, but it's pretty easy. And I would urge anyone who for you, or because like you said, with automotive, we've shot Kia dealerships, Acura, working on those like big name brands like Mercedes-Benz and Porsche. That's coming up. But
nice.
Yeah, man, I mean, it's a really good coming from someone who just graduated college, getting right into the book of business with digital marketing and with these virtual tours couldn't be a better adjustment. Couldn't be a better segue.
All right, a couple things I wanted to talk about there. The video gets shot, or you shoot it yourself. This company puts it together. What format? Like, can dealers use it on their website, on Google, in email blasts?
Like, post it on. There's so many different, honestly, ways. The bread and butter, what we do, Matt, is we give them a link where they can post on their social, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, right? LinkedIn, and then we can have them give them an embedded code which gets posted on their website. And it's cool because we can post this. We can go to Google and we could actually publish it on Google too. And inside the tour, let's just say we're talking about like a dealership, right? Like a Mercedes-Benz dealership. And they have an AMG. They have all these awesome, dope-ass cars that are way too expensive for me right now. But you could put tags called matter tags. It looks like a teenager with acne, all these red dots, right? You click on it, and it expands and say, hey, 2020 Mercedes AMG, all the description, and you can have a link, a call to action. You can actually put a Vimeo and a YouTube video inside the tour, right?
Oh, wow.
And we can also, we're working on a system right now, Matt, where we're actually incorporating SEO into it. So like, for instance, if I was, let's just say I had a bar, which I actually did. We can talk about that a little bit. Let's just say it's called the Boiler Room. And we were trying to rank for bars in Philadelphia, right? I want the tour to act as a blog, piece of content. Obviously, we could, embed it with a bunch of technical SEO and then post it on the website, which is going to get more attractive, kind of just like a snowball effect. So there's so many nuanced solutions. I mean, whether you're in automotive, real estate, retail, restaurants, whatever, there's definitely call to actions there, and it's customizable for every single industry.
Dealers are always trying to differentiate themselves, right? And in a lot of situations, a dealer is graded by their manufacturer on certain amenities that customers remember them offering. So it's not enough to have gourmet coffee available in your dealership. If your customer doesn't remember that you have it and rate you on a manufacturer survey about it, then it doesn't count, right? So in a situation like that, would a dealer be able to drop those little dots on different things in their showroom? Like, here's our gourmet Starbucks coffee area. Here's our waiting area with free Wi-Fi and a 55-inch TV. Here's the area where you can, you wait for the shuttle to come bring you to work. Like, would you be able to kind of pin areas like that?
Absolutely. So I'll give you an example. The Philadelphia Convention Center, right?
Yep.
About 800,000 square feet. Trump was there last week. We do car shows, all kinds of very creative stuff, right? I remember I was like 13 years old. I couldn't even drive yet. And there's a little track where you can go up a hill with a Jeep. And oh my God, it was so much fun. But for the tour, we can actually put a tag and have a little bit of a glossary or an index, because we can color code the tags, right? So in the first floor, it's going to be red, right? Second floor is going to be blue. Third floor is going to be red. Sure, we can label all these kinds of gourmet coffee things or all these other rooms, but thinking big picture, we can customize it where, I want the person who needs to go, if they're a vendor and they're looking to buy space in the second floor or rent it out, they can go to the second floor in the fastest time possible. As much as I'd love them to, tour the entire convention center.
Right, of course.
I don't want them to be bored and say, oh my God, this is, it's taking way too much time to get where I want. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways where we could do exactly what you're talking about. It's really just based on the client, man. And we've been fortunate enough to work with so many companies as we speak, and it's only going to grow. We're in a very, very demanding industry right now, and COVID really proved that. People that are not up to par with their digital marketing, Google My Business, website, SEO as a whole, and then you add virtual tours to the mix. Now it's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Right. A whole nother level. So it's just leveling up. I mean, Elon Musk wants to put chips in our head, and that's like 2030, that's, or maybe even not that late, but you get my point, man. We're on the up and up and always looking to create, man.
Talking about timing too, like you said, you hate to say it as we capitalized on this opportunity, but there's a lot of industries and a lot of people that have benefited from it in a way that also benefits the consumer, right? So sure. If you look at the standpoint, just from an automotive standpoint, okay, so maybe auto dealers have been resisting this thing that we in our industry call digital retailing because they want a person to come in to the showroom and buy a car. You have more chance of upselling the person, making more gross profit on the deal. And dealers think if you sell a car online or do most of it online, you give up that opportunity. So a lot of dealers have done it in the past, but a lot of dealers have been resistant to it. Well, what happened when COVID hit? Everyone thought, oh man, I should have been doing this. And they all scrambled on. So all those digital retailing businesses were like, growing. And if you look at it, even from like an auto parts store or a DIY, like a Home Depot type place, people shifted from like hiring people to come work on their house to like, well, I'm home. I got nothing to do. I either lost my job or I'm working from home and I wrap things up at 4:00. Let me redo my bathroom and do it myself. So a lot of industries have, seen a shift because of the sort of the panic and prepare and the quarantine routine, part of the year this year. Like, if you even look at like fast food restaurants, those places were set up for this. They were set up for you can get food and not have to go inside a restaurant.
Bread and butter, dude.
And those places were like, totally up. But that being said, like with things that have changed, like I use this example on the podcast before. My favorite pizza place, there's like 8 pizza places in my town, right? My favorite pizza place does curbside now. Like you call, you order the pizza, you give them your debit card, and you call when you get there and they bring it out to your car. Well, I'll tell you what, if I could do that for the rest of my life, I would do that instead of going inside, standing in line, having someone cough on the back of my neck. Like, I like that. I'll eat in a restaurant, but to make takeout convenient like that. So I guess what I'm getting at is, will this change the way that real estate is marketed? So I assume there's less walkthroughs happening and more things happening virtually right now. Will it stay like that going forward?
Sure. I mean, dude, you're lucky because, I'm in Philadelphia and we have this awesome place called Santucci's. Barstool, Dave Portnoy, he goes like shops and right. So he was at Santucci's and they don't take credit card, they don't deliver, they don't do, you just have to do takeout, right? Or eat in, which you can't, so you have to take it out. And this is all the way in South Philly. So dude, this is like, when the iPhone 1 just dropped, there was like lines upon lines, like the city's crowded, like people are going crazy. And it's just that good a pizza. I think Dave rated it like a 9.3, but you're lucky on that, that you can get it, you can get it taken out, which is great. But yeah, I mean, in terms of real estate, man, obviously these are going to be marketed differently. People are making, custom videos now. You can see like, they're making hey, my name's Sean Boyle. I'm at 123 Pine Street, and they're doing it that way. So with the virtual tours, I can actually send you an example after the show, but we did a 3D model of a home in Hawaii, right? That wasn't even built yet. So we totally rendered it. We just got the blueprints, and it was actually a club owner in Philadelphia who, it was the project, and it's going to be his house. And it was one of these crazy things, man, where we just got the blueprints. They said, hey, run with it. Here's the finishes. Here's the Italian finishes. Here's the exterior, interior. Here's what we want to do. And we made it. And I think we hired some guy in India for like a couple $100. We charged like at least $1,000, and our profit margins were just crazy, at least like 80%. So it's, it's hard to say right now, Matt, where the standard is. I think it's obviously virtual tours with photos, with virtual staging, where if people don't know what that is, picture your house completely vacant, no furniture. We can actually embed furniture, whether that's modern finishes or more luxury or more business oriented. Yeah, it's great. And I definitely think that's the future. But in terms of, what's next, it's really up to us. I mean, that's why I'm trying to hop on these virtual tours and make it a precedent, make it a standard, because Momentum 360, we have 40 locations in the US. And the big thing for me is I just want to be an industry disruptor. I'm not going to be like this complacent business owner to say, hey, this is how it is now. I make the rules now. You know what I mean? I want to make it so it's Matterport's the king, and virtual staging is that's how it is too. So, dude, in 2020, there's so many different ways to market a property. I mean, it goes so much farther than real estate. There's so many different industries that we've talked about. But yeah, I think virtual tours are here to stay right now, especially in Philadelphia, man. Properties are flying off the market. I mean, I was talking we have a shoot right now in Jersey that's going on as we speak. And I was talking to the guy, and he's like, yeah, I want to get this virtual tour. But I'm like, dude, I got to be honest with you. I'm like trying to save you a couple $100. You don't even need this thing. I mean, properties are flying off the market right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's it's better than sliced bread. I mean, I swear to God, it's so crazy. But that's how it is right now, man. It's a great time to be in the digital space for sure.
What other kinds of, okay, so just from a dealer standpoint, for the dealers listening, to me, the key takeaway on the 360 tour, the Matterport, part of that to me is, okay, most dealers probably have their Google 360 up there, right? But the difference in the value could be the quality of the video and the red dots that explain what's going on and show inventory and show, which is something that you can't get from Google, which from a dealer standpoint could be good for CSI or KPI or, depending on what your OEM calls it. So that's a takeaway for that. From a agency standpoint, what other types of digital are you, by the way, before I think of it, I have a real estate agent who I know who, I don't know if I had her on the podcast or not, or I just talked to her a couple times, I need to hook you up with because she does commercial and residential in Southern Connecticut, like Stamford, Greenwich, Norwalk area. So remind me to hook you up with her. I don't need to say that on the podcast, but if I don't say it out loud, I'll totally forget.
I'm the same way, bro. It's all good.
Yeah. So what other types of digital marketing are you guys utilizing that is having, because I think efficiency of spend has become very important in automotive. And we're realizing we're all spending all this money on this stuff that are like nice to do's, but you don't really need to be doing them. So what are some of the like need to be doing mission critical things that are working right now in your industry?
So I'll tell you a story. Our original founder of Momentum, Mac Frederick, who used to work at Google, and I'm going to kind of tell his story if he doesn't mind.
Okay.
He used to work at Google and he was doing ads, right? He was in the ad space. And when he was at the ad space, he started on the side, working with clients outside of business hours, you get what I'm saying, and was more so preaching, hey, I can give you Google ads, but what you really need is local SEO. Right? Because Google Ads, as you know, like for people who don't know, obviously they know what they are, but you can do location-based search where you can highlight your Google My Business. You can highlight, local searches. So for instance, for me, I would try to bid on virtual tours in Los Angeles, 3D tours in Los Angeles, and then, break it up by niche and then and location, because there's so many different niches for virtual tours. But what I would bank on right now, the fundamentals is local SEO. So getting your Google My Business, getting social bookmarks, social citations, and just go on ubersuggest.com. Neil Patel, you probably know about that, Matt. Great guy in the marketing space. And it's free. It's free. So Ubersuggest gives you a free audit of your website. Okay, what's my page word count on this page? What's this? Do we have a sitemap? Do we have all this technical stuff on the website? That's the biggest thing too. The next thing I would say, obviously, is because let's be honest, these virtual tours are a commodity. They're more so a luxury product. And at the core of it, obviously, America is struggling right now with small businesses. So as much as I'd love to sit here and say, oh yeah, these virtual tours are great, to really impact your small business, that's why I'm trying to get a solid SOP with SEO in the virtual tours. So it's more of a fundamental practice rather than, oh, here's just some luxury product that we don't necessarily know if it's going to be good, in the extended future, not in the immediate, but in the extended future. So yeah, man, local SEO is great. We're talking about LinkedIn stories behind it. I think that LinkedIn is a huge platform and a lot of people are underutilizing it. Like I was, like 6 months ago, I thought it as like TikTok. I was just like, I'm not going to touch this. I'm more so on Instagram, Facebook, and you need to be on LinkedIn. You need to be on every single platform you can be. There's no excuses, and I know TikTok's more of a, I'm not the biggest believer in TikTok, to be honest with you. I'm just being transparent, but you need to make content, man. You need to make content for all different platforms.
Yeah.
So that's why, and again, if your business doesn't have like a podcast or show or something, make one. You can go on Anchor, you can go on all these different free softwares, and it's never been easier. So content, and then obviously back that up with a fundamental base of local SEO. So that's what I would definitely recommend, man.
You were talking about social media, maybe not knowing or believing in TikTok. I feel the same way about some of them, right? It's hard to be on all of them and do well on all of them. A couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with Shane Dwyer, who's the head of U.S. Automotive for Snap Inc., Snapchat.
Sure.
And, I think dealers are like, Snapchat, it's younger kids. I don't, blah, blah, blah. But when you talk to the guy and you start to get some of the statistics and metrics from Snapchat, you're like, why am I not putting my content on Why am I not utilizing Snapchat? And in automotive, we're a little behind in automotive. So, automotive is like, okay, we're on Facebook, and then some dealerships are on Twitter, but the bulk of dealerships, if you search, created a Twitter account 4 or 5 years ago, did some stuff for 3 weeks, and then haven't touched it in 2 years. That's something I see a lot. And then I haven't even thought about Snapchat or TikTok or same thing with Instagram. They've started an Instagram, used it really well for a while, and then the person who was doing it quit or got fired, and no one knows the password, and they just ignored it. Like that happens all the time in automotive. But you got to stick with it, and I've been trying to stick with it for my own, like business, me as an account director in an agency, and also for my podcast. But it is time consuming sometimes. That stuff doesn't happen. You got to spend a little time doing it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I mean, we have this great girl, Callie, now, who goes to Temple, who is doing all of our graphic design for our socials, for our website, blog, all that stuff. And for me, I'm colorblind, right? I'm red-green colorblind, legitimately.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it's one of these things where I don't like to make excuses, but in this case, it's like I just made a design, last month, and like, Sean, our company colors are blue and white, right? And I put like purple or something. I didn't know the difference. I just didn't know. And I think obviously having that concrete plan, mapping out what you want, and then if you have the money, right, if you have the budget to go out and say, okay, we're going to hire someone that can be a VA, in India, go on Fiverr, go on Upwork, go on, all these different platforms where you can get jobs from, and get that person. In my case, you really need to do your due diligence of who you're going to hire, whether that's a VA or some intern, because if you don't have the budget, what are you going to teach them? Is it going to be something where you have more resources? Is it going to be opening up to more networking opportunities, more growth with the company, more client work? So you need to say, okay, if we're not going to pay you, we need to, obviously suffice that with, other resources. So I definitely see content being like all around it as a general thing. You need to be creating. I mean, if you're not creating, you're dying. And far too many, as you can probably agree with this too, clients we've seen, automotive and just digital. I mean, there's so many different clients we have that aren't utilizing like just the core essentials, man, like Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, and then thinking Snapchat and TikTok. I mean, no one's doing that. I mean, it's and it's a shame too, because I think we need to produce more awareness. I mean, we have the Gary V's, we have the Tony Robbins, but and sure, they reach a lot of people too. But for these smaller people that necessarily aren't as technologically advanced, who are more in a local town, I think that we need people like you and I to go out and preach this and just iterate it for the people who really need to hear it the most. And, I don't like to speak in generalities, but I think that we should be teaching them concrete strategies and actionable tactics that they can take home and say, and this is what I try to do in my show, and you're doing it too. Like, I want to have someone listen to my show when they're driving home from work and say, oh my God, that tactic that Sean said about Google My Business or about, posting on LinkedIn stories or whatever, I can do that when I get home. Right. Yeah. So it's that actionable stuff. I had a guy on the show, like, I think it was like one of my first episodes, Matt. And he was talking about cryptocurrency, and he was just like talking about, I was trying to ask him about how to invest, right? Like, what are the tactics? What are the strategies? And he couldn't give me any concrete strategies. He was just like, oh, you got to invest. I'm like, all right, well, how do you do that? Can you break it down a little bit? And it gets me frustrated because I'm like, dude, I'm trying to have you on the show and produce value. But if you just keep saying, oh, Bitcoin's great, blockchain's great, that's not going to help anyone. You know what I mean? Sure, we know it's great. It's an emerging industry. But what are the tactics? What are the actionable things? Because I always like to say, you can do anything you want if you work for it, right? That's the goal. But we need to be teaching things that are actually producing results. Okay. Yeah. And that is not necessarily the success. It's more so getting started with whether you're creating a podcast or creating content. So you just got to get started, man.
One of the things that, we see a lot in automotive from a social standpoint, you're just talking about, who you hire and how you train them or what their background is a dealer will use a software that they make a post and then it streams it, posts it on all the social networks, which is not the way to do it. Obviously, that. And, I'll give a shout out to a coworker at Silverback, Elena, the agency I work for, does all of our social posts. And what she does is what every dealer needs to do, or in business for that matter, is think about your audience, right? It's even when you're creating content, think about who's reading it. So she'll write a post. Elena will write a post about like a podcast episode I did, right? And the post on the Silverback Advertising's Twitter, the verbiage she uses is different than the verbiage she uses on Facebook. The text that she uses, the copy is different on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, it's a little more buttoned up, professional. Twitter, it's a little loose. Facebook, it's a little jokey. Yeah. Our president of our company will, she'll manage that and post it, and that's more like serious. Like, my guy, account director Matt, did this. On Twitter, it's more like, hey, our favorite dude. The language is different. It's a different person viewing it, and not only that, even if it's the same person. We expect different things from different social networks, and we go to those networks for different reasons, right? Sure. And it's important for whoever's doing that to realize the difference. Just writing one thing and posting it across all the networks defeats the purpose.
Did you've done like Crowdfire, I guess you've heard of it. I remember when we first got started with Crowdfire, and I thought, oh my God, this is the next big thing. And me, like, being a very jovial and just like optimistic kid, I was like, oh, we got to hop on this like ASAP, let's go. And we started posting, and we're like, oh my God, like, we're not getting really like that much. Our KPIs are all messed up. Like, what's going on? And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, you can't use the same language as we were in Twitter with LinkedIn. It's just not going to work. So I think, you're completely right. I mean, take it case by case and really, again, make an audit. What's your language going to be? What's your verbiage? Is it going to be, and again, I know that there's a tightrope you can walk with, being a little more loose, being a little more strict, but you have to play to their guidelines. You can't make content for every single platform. And this is what Gary Vee preaches, right? He preaches, you can make 50, 60 pieces of content a day. You can create one video, but it has to be different. It has to be different. Yeah. And you look at you go follow Gary Vee on LinkedIn. It's more professional. It's more, obviously he's just being himself. He's not putting on some kind of mask, but he is speaking in a different tone. And Twitter, he's a little more loose. And Facebook, Instagram is a little more loose. So, and I'm pretty sure he's on TikTok too, and that's the loosest one of them all. So
I'll just say I have different expectations, like I said, from each one, right? Like, if I want angry people arguing about politics, then I go to Facebook. If I want snarky, amusing sports posts and updates from teams and that kind of stuff, I go to Twitter. If I want funny, like, picture type stuff, I'll go to Instagram stories. If I want pictures of kids, I go to Instagram. If I want professional networking and like that, then I go to LinkedIn. Yeah. And so for that reason, I'm guessing that you kind of use it the same way. For that reason, the content has to differ.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And, with these virtual tours, we don't even, like you said, we don't even market the same. Like, for instance, if someone's going to post a tour on like a Facebook or Twitter, sure, it populates the same, but right. I want there to be different. Like, for Facebook, I love where you probably heard of this too. You can create a 360 view, right? Like for a post. And what we can do as an agency is actually take a 360 pano of one, and this is what clients, if they say, hey, they're a little more digital savvy. We take a 360 pano and post it on the Facebook, on their Facebook page. And then they can go around and then click into the tour, and then it engulfs into the whole Matterport thing. So, whatever kind of content you're creating, again, verbiage, but even with the tour, man, we need to be conscious of that too, because for LinkedIn, again, it's more so like, do we want to post this here? What's the value? You always need to be thinking about the end consumer. Yeah. And once you think about the end consumer, you can kind of reverse engineer and say, okay, this is what we need to do. And that's just like anything. If you want to scale to 7 or 8 figures, okay, reverse engineer, be in the same room as other people. How do you do that? Go on LinkedIn, and you need to, like, I'll tell you an example, Matt. Alan Dom, one of the biggest, real estate guys in Philadelphia, he more so handles condos, right? Now, me, as a 23-year-old man, I want to start investing in real estate, okay?
Right.
So I was like, okay, I want to have Alan Dom mentor me. And people were laughing at me. They're like, dude, he's not going to give you 2 seconds. He can't even give him, I guess, his family, like, an hour or something. And
right.
He's so busy. He's so busy. And that's what makes him great is he's working constantly. He's a councilman, too, in the city of Philadelphia. So he's all this great stuff. I wrote him an email about a month ago. And I used, and I want the audience to take away my verbiage, right? Because I think that for me, although I'm 23, you're probably a little older. A lot of kids my age are like, oh, I should have this because I'm privileged.
Yeah.
I said, I was like, Alan, and this isn't to boast me. It's just kind of just to tell you guys a story. I wrote out the email. I said, hey, Alan, my name's Sean Boyle. I've heard a lot about you. You're, obviously king in Philadelphia. I want to earn, a mentorship with you. I want to earn it, whether that's working for free or showing you value somewhere else or paying for a mentorship. I just want to make sure that you understand that I'm trying to, obviously get value out of you, but I need to give value to you back. Right. And that long-term mentality goes so far. People like, I had my buddy the other day who he's, one of my best friends, and he more so is one of these guys who just expects short-term gratification. So he was kind of doing the same thing. He was trying to get a couple mentors, and he was using his verbiage wrong. He's just like, hey man, like I know this person. And sure, you can kind of rely on your morals, but at the core of it, what are you giving to them? What are you giving to them? Are you going to give them any single bit of value? Because if not, they're obviously less reluctant to work with you and to help you, to mentor you. And being transparent is the biggest thing. So that's really what I would recommend, honestly.
What do you think? What do you think of LinkedIn stories so far? All of a sudden, I noticed it just popped up.
Yeah, I love them. I mean, they're not as advanced, obviously, as like the Instagram and Snapchat, where they have features. And I don't want them to have filters, right? I think that for LinkedIn, I think they should have more so a conservative content structure where, sure, you can type out words, you can do colors, all that kind of stuff. But in terms of the filters, I don't know if that's a good strategy for them because they're more of a conservative platform, more professional. And I think they have a good system right now. I don't think they need to tweak anything. And then, I mean, sure, they need to tweak stuff for bugs, but in terms of the actual UX, UI, I don't see it being a problem. I think that I was making a couple LinkedIn stories the other day, and I thought it was fine. I thought that, for what it is right now, it's a good platform. I think people need to be aware of it and just try it out, trial and error, and see what we can come up with,
I'm digging it so far. Trying to get an idea who's posting what and what the, what content people are posting. Obviously a lot of my connections on LinkedIn are in the automotive space. So I see a lot of like, general managers and owners and marketing people from dealerships. And then of course there's all like the, in air quotes, influencers and the guys doing, standing by private jets and all that kind of stuff, going to steakhouses and,
it's crazy
and all that stuff. But I'm looking for, like, I want something like on Instagram. I like stories because I either find them funny or it's cool pictures or whatever. Yeah. So I'm trying to think like, what's my expectation of the LinkedIn stories? And I just want like information, but I also want it like in a, like slightly not entertaining. Entertaining is not the word, but presented to me in like in a good way. I don't know yet. I'm trying to figure out like, what do I want out of this? I think I posted a couple last week. One getting ready for a podcast release, and then one I was on my back porch, like at the end of the workday.
Right.
My neighbor was having like all these trees cut down for like 2 days straight, so it's like nonstop noise for 2 days.
Oh,
of course, I've been in my home office for 6 months now, so I was like, this is so 2020. Like trying to record a podcast, the windows open in the house. I hear a wood chipper for a week. So that's what I've been doing so far, but I'm interested to see kind of where it goes.
So what I do for my stories, whether it's Instagram or Snapchat, whatever, is, subscription right now is king. The subscription model is a winner. And I try to have that mentality where, okay, although I'm not getting people to like metaphorically subscribe, but when they watch my stories, I want them to keep coming back over and over and over, because as long as I can keep them in the funnel, the better, because they're still players, whether that's for my podcast, for my business.
Yeah.
I try to make it a subscription model. So I'm thinking in the long term, what kind of content is going to be desirable? And again, this is the whole conversation we had. Instagram, I'm posting, kind of my daily life. Yeah. And being a little more loosey goosey. And then for LinkedIn, I want to tighten it up, be a little more concise, have a strict approach of, okay, here's what we're doing and here's what we're going to do, which again, it's just like the virtual tours where it's up for interpretation right now. So people need to seize it and create something that's going to work, create a system. Like someone's creating a system right now for LinkedIn stories that is going to work. We're all going to follow it in 2021 and, the years to come.
Yeah.
So it's just following that model, man. And the subscription model, if you can get into it, whether that's creating stories that are going to be keeping your, viewers happy, and then ultimately getting them to subscribe to your YouTube, to your, podcast, to your ebook or whatever you're selling at that point. I think it's so valuable because that reoccurring revenue model is king. We charge hosting for our Matterport tours. And for the longest time, we didn't, which was such a mistake. We were saying, hey, we could do these one-off projects, and we want to do as little amount of projects as we want for the biggest amount of money. And I was like, why can't we do both? Why can't we have a hosting fee? And for me, I was just trying to be too nice. I was trying to say, hey, don't worry about hosting, because you got to think, for real estate, they're probably going to need it for what, 2 or 3 months, and then that's it. So that 2 or 3 months is still valuable. These industrial places, manufacturing, they needed a little bit more. Automotive, sure. That I have clients, dude, that we've had tours for 5+ years now. So it's a little more of a long-term play. But the longer you can keep them in that model, the more you're going to be living passive, because we all want to be sitting up on a beach somewhere and just take this business passive. So that's ultimately where my mind is at, and it's just. You got to do it day by day. You got to really think long picture. And I think the sooner people realize that thinking for the long term is the better option, which it is, obviously, the better you're going to be off. And I think the more open-minded you are, too, the more connections you're going to have that foresee you as, a genuine person rather than, oh, they're just trying to get something out of me. You know what I mean? So it's that long-term perspective. And for me, I'm still struggling with it, because it's like, man, I'm working my butt off, like, where are the results? But I need to say, okay, I'm only 23. I need to just be patient, keep working, keep being humble, and just, abiding by my own core values. And it's interesting though, man. I mean, there's so many things to talk about in the digital age, especially with content now. So it's all up for interpretation. We just need to be authority figures and see what works,
Before we wrap it up, I want to go back to one thing you said a little bit ago when we were talking about SEO, and I'm interested in your opinion on this. Is it difficult to explain to your clients, particularly in real estate, the importance of SEO or why they need it or justifying the cost of it? Because it's sometimes this mysterious thing to people who maybe don't understand what goes into it, because it's all this like back end. It's not something you see immediate results from.
That's a great question. Yes, it is a little more difficult in the real estate, primarily because you're looking at, okay, if someone's going to Google single family home in Philadelphia, they're going to go on Zillow for that. They don't necessarily need rankings for that. For their website, for like KW Philly, the largest brokerage in Philadelphia, they need to be ranking for brokerages in Philadelphia, real estate companies, all this great stuff. If you Google the best real estate team in Philadelphia, you're going to find the Mike McCann Group, which that's an organic rank, $300 million plus team with the Mike McCann Group. So they have it down. They have it down pat. I think for your earned and owned media, for your website, for your blog, for your socials, all that stuff, you need to be, due diligently taking an audit of, okay, what could be ranking for in the long term, right? Because for real estate in the short term, you don't necessarily need to be ranking for these properties. But for all these other industries, it's a little easier to explain, to the average person. But that's why I say, man, SEO is that core. It's your foundation. It's what you can build the house on. If you don't have that and you're just putting money into ads and ads and ads, I don't care if you have the retargeting of, a Gary Vee or whatever, some crazy ad person out there. You need to have SEO at the core. That's for sure.
I always know when the podcast is wrapping up its natural flow, when I'm getting pretty much out of my stoke.
Yeah.
And I'm getting low on the stoke. Try it. It's a STOK. It's cold brew coffee. It comes in it's prepackaged like plastic, bottles in the grocery store. They don't sponsor me. I'd like to be an official Stoke sponsor. Because my wife and I make sure you order 3 bottles of Stoke at the grocery store. It's crazy. Try it. You will not regret it. And then get back to me and let me know if you liked it or not.
100%, man. I will.
Listen, this has been fantastic. I'm going to hook you up with that real estate person. I know you and I are talking about OTT, connected TV, in next week offline. I'm excited about that. This has been super entertaining and educational. I hope the dealers have found it informational as well. Sean Boyle, I appreciate your time. Momentum Digital. Let's do it again. I'll just hang around and wait for the invite to your podcast.
Let's do it next week. But Matt, thank you so much, my man. It was a pleasure.
If you liked the intro from Jim McCarthy, you're really going to like the outro, all right?
Let's hear it.
All right, here we go. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Take it easy.
Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson is brought to you by Wait, this guy has sponsors? Oh, never mind. This sheet of paper's blank. No sponsors. That makes more sense. For updates, info, future episodes, and more, follow on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and connect on Frackle. You guys made that last one up. That's not even a thing, Frackle. Come on.